Hearing is very, very important to speech. Typically, developing children learn speech and language from their environment through hearing. If children have a fluctuating hearing loss that typically goes with fluid in the ears, the problem, the difficulty is that sometimes they're hearing it and sometimes they're not hearing it. So making those connections between the word and what it symbolizes, or the object or the person, or the event and the description, becomes more difficult. Also, many of the words that are grammatical words are said much more softly. So we say, I walk down the street. I'm running to catch him. But we don't say, I'm running to catch him, or I walked down the street. Okay, we don't make it louder. It's at the end of the word, and it tends to be dropped off. Okay, and so many times plurals are that way, tenses are that way, and many times children have difficulty with it, not only on a grammatical level, but because they really can't hear those final sounds. They're softer. And so often when children with Down syndrome have begun to read, okay, writing them out really helps kids learn that. They can see walked, rather than walked, where they don't hear it.
The ear canals are now both
about the
pretty
same
good
size?
size. Yeah, they're both pretty good size. It's not like before where I need to take them under the microscope. They've grown, so I can see his eardrums quite well now. And there's no wax in his ears, so I don't have any trouble seeing things.
If we look at children from age 2 to age 7, things change as the children grow. And one of the good things that changes is that the ear canals enlarge. We know that approximately 50% of newborns who have Down syndrome have very small ear canals, so small that really the primary care physician cannot see the eardrums. And that requires frequent visits to a specialist, usually an ENT specialist, so that we can examine the ears under a microscope with some very small instruments that we have available. By about age 2 to 3, the ear canals enlarge to the point that it's much easier for the primary care physician to follow the child's ears to rule out persistent middle ear fluid, ear infections. Once the ear canals grow to the point that the ears can be examined, what we suggested that the ears are checked at least twice a year. Hearing tests should be done a minimum of once a year if the child is able to do a type of hearing test where the right and left ear are tested separately. And that happens at a different stage in each child. And it seems to go from about 2 years to maybe 6 or 7 in children with Down syndrome. If the child is not able to do the testing where the ears are tested separately, so you just get a hearing result but it's reflecting both ears at the same time, then you should really be tested every 6 months. Overall, the number of ear infections may go down as the child gets older, but it's still very important to continue to follow the ears and the hearing very closely. There may not be as many acute ear infections with the high fevers and the ear pain, but there is still a very high incidence of the eustachian tubes not working. So you still have that negative pressure behind the eardrum. You have fluid that may persistently be there. And that's going to affect hearing and speech. It also can cause permanent damage to the eardrums. So it's one of those things that you don't want to lose sight of. It is much safer to put a tube in, a small tube, and have a healthy eardrum that's not being stretched out, that's not getting scarred by the infections, than to have the repeated ear infections, the repeated spontaneous perforations because of ear infections. You're really keeping that eardrum healthy, and hopefully saving that child from developing some of the complications of chronic ear disease, which is things like cholesteatomas, which are abnormal skin cysts growing in the ear, erosion of the eardrum, or even the middle ear bones from chronic ear infections. That 10-minute procedure, that even though it may need to be repeated several times, is a lot safer. It's preventative care from developing much more serious complications.
Yeah, we've had children in our clinic who were having difficulty initiating speech, and at the point where they were monitored closely for fluid in the air and hearing loss, they moved ahead. They were able to say 2 words together. They were able to initiate sounds and words at the beginning and at the end because they now heard them. So you do see real differences. You also see real differences in ability to follow instructions, ability to understand what's going on in the environment because you can hear it. You don't have to just get it from the visual cues and try to figure it out.